Chris DeLeon here of GameDev. We're going to keep this short because you should be spending more of that time working on video games instead of watching YouTube videos. But what I will share is this just a little bit of planning advice focused around the idea of 85%. And how can that idea of 85% help us out in our planning? And there's sort of two kind of bases for this, the first one is this great quote from Mario Andretti, and you can tell he's on my mind because I'm talking a little fast today, that if everything seems under control, you're not going fast enough. That if everything seems under control, you're not going fast enough. And of course, Mario Andretti's a race car driver, and I guess what he's saying, right, is you should feel like you're maybe constantly slipping just a little bit, or like maybe there's a few screws rattling or whatever, just a little bit, and that's your sign that you're pushing yourself and pushing your equipment to the level that you can. And now this might seem like it's in contrast to the other day when I talked about sustainable game development and taking your time and going for a walk, and there's some back and forth, right? You need a little bit of both. There's a fine line to be walked. And the reason why I mentioned 85%, that's a specific number that sort of is pulled out of a hat, but a specific informed number that I learned some years ago when my career crossed paths with John Salwitz. Now, when I was a little kid, I played the games Rampart, and John Salwitz was the original concept for that. I played the game Paperboy. John Salwitz was a programmer for that. He's still been around the game industry for the decades since, doing other kind of roles, including development director and design director, and these kind of roles that involve overseeing big swaths of planned work. And one of the tips he passed on to me was this idea that any given week, he hopes to see that the team as a whole is landing about 85% of the objectives that they set out for that week. Does that make sense? 85%. And the reason why he said that is because if they're nailing 100%, it's impossible to say how much more might have been fit into that schedule, right? If they're going less than 85%, then your planning starts to be kind of worthless and a little too over-optimistic, a little imaginary. So 85% is this kind of nice kind of roundish number. You can easily kind of picture about when you're setting goals week to week. You can tell you're pushing yourself if you're making it partway there. And this goes back to this Mario Andretti quote of if you're not quite making it, not to feel bad, not to feel like you're failing at planning or like you guessed wrong, you estimated wrong, you screwed up, but to see that that's part of how you continue to pull yourself forward, how you continue to keep challenging yourself and pushing yourself, is by setting those goals that, you know what, you didn't achieve 100% of it, you achieved 85%, but it's 85% of some stuff that wouldn't have happened at all if you hadn't put that marker where you did 1 week to the next of what you're trying to get done. That all sound make sense? All right, so anyway, that's all it is for now, 85%. Expect 1 week to the next to make about 85% of your goals, and if you're nailing them at 100%, maybe push your goals up a little bit, right? If you're falling way short of that, maybe reel your goals back. But anyway, that's it for now. Speaking of goals, in case you missed this message at the end of last time, and now you know what, I'm still figuring out what I was doing. I'm always 85% too. But if you go to gamkedo.training, there's no .com at the end. It's just gamkedo, no E, GAMKEDO.training. You can sign up for a simple mailing list where now every week I'm sending out 2 questions. What did you do in the past week to make progress on game development? And what do you aim to make progress on in the week ahead in game development? That, of course, is part of why this video exists, because that's where we should expect to see about that 15% fall-off gap to mean you're setting good goals, and it's not mean you're failing because you're not quite nailing 100%. You shouldn't be. That's it for now, y'all. Have a great week. I'll catch you next week. And in fact, for those of you on the mailing list, you'll hear from me a little later today. Thanks. Bye-bye.